Well, welcome to this BC Strategies podcast. Today, myself and the other experts who have joined, we're going to talk about our predictions for 2025. And so this is always an exciting episode because then at the end of the year, we get to watch it back and see if we were right or wrong. But with the expertise that we brought to bear today, I know that it's going to be an interesting discussion. So let me first go to BC Strategies expert Nicolas. Nicolas, welcome. Tell us about what's happening in 2025.
A lot is going to happen. I'd like to focus on three things. Number one is what I call the rise of AI platform. What we've seen is every 6 months there's a new breakthrough in AI, and all the providers, all the solution have to be re-architected. And I think what we'll see is that some are able to adjust, some will need to overhaul the architecture, and it will become less adding a feature, but more thinking what platform is able to incorporate the different style of AI and deliver on the different use cases from Copilot to agent, etc. So that's number one. Number two, if we zoom on the CX market, I think it's going to be a year of transition. We are going to have the hyperscalers, and I think it's primarily about Microsoft and Google asserting or reasserting the position in the space. Obviously, Amazon is already extremely active. We've seen this year Salesforce shifting a little bit its angle into the market, focusing more on building its data platform. And others, such as ServiceNow and Zendesk, are in a more silent, stealth way, making inroads in this market. So we'll see a lot of evolution. And eventually, I think it's going to be the year of the open architecture. A lot of angst in terms of how you future-proof any investment decision. A lot of angst as well in figuring out how you can deliver on this promise to bring interaction management and customer experience into the broader enterprise. And it hinges on open systems. And it's going to be an evolution because in the last years, there's been a lot of focus on bringing all-in-one solution. So these are my three predictions.
Well, that's great. And you started us off and a lot of focus on the architecture. So that's very interesting. Why don't we go to Blair Pleasant? Blair, how do you see 2025 unfolding?
Okay, yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. Obviously, AI is going to be all the rage, as it has been. So I think there's going to be more of a focus on, or I hope there's going to be more of a focus on adoption, usage, training, and change management when it comes to AI. And I'm really going to be pushing the vendors on this because I think it's so important. You know, some of the AI capabilities are intuitive. You know, you don't need a lot of training for summarizing a meeting, but for things like maybe Copilot for Excel, or for some of the Copilot types of things, training is definitely needed to help users get the most out of it. And then when we look at contact center and CX, the agents and supervisors need to know how to use the tools. And for the agents, they need to understand, why, what's in it for me, so that they understand, AI is not there to replace them, it's to help them, and why they should be embracing these tools. So we started to see vendors like Microsoft and Cisco do a pretty good job on providing adoption and training tools for their AI, and I'm hoping that other vendors are going to follow suit. And just for an early plug, I will be doing a session on this at Enterprise Connect, so stay tuned for that. Number two is, I think, the focus on tangible benefits of AI. I'm really talking about business value and business outcomes. 2024 was the year of a lot of experimentation and trying things out and just getting it out there. But I think 2025 is really when I think customers are going to be wanting to know, what is the value I'm going to be getting this? What's the ROI? Why should I be doing this rather than just, doing it because everyone's doing AI? So I think we're going to see a lot of ROI studies and tools that are going to be coming out to show the value that AI can really provide. So we have to go beyond experimenting and trying it out to really showing what the real value is. So I can talk about agentic AI, but I think I'll leave that for someone else. But I think, the whole idea of have your agent call my agent is going to take on a whole new meaning in 2025. So I think the other thing, also talking about contact center and CX, is going to be proactive engagement. I think we're going to see a lot more with proactive outreach, proactive engagement. We saw some acquisitions in the past year from the CCaaS vendors. So I think we're going to see a lot more using AI-based analytics to anticipate customer needs, sending proactive notifications, maybe even solving problems before they happen. So I do expect to see more with proactive engagement and outreach in 2025. So I can go on, but I'll leave it for others.
There you go. No, that's great, and it's good to see that adoption, training, and change management never goes out of style. So I know
Making
that's
very nice little oral presentations, Kevin.
there you go. Well, thank you for that, Blair. And so maybe let's go to fellow Canadian John Arnold. John, 2025.
Okay.
How's
Yeah,
it?
right
How's
on.
it going on? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And it's great to be with everybody here. And just to follow on what Blair was saying with agentic AI, I'll just say a little bit about it. And I do think we're going to see a lot more of it because it's something that the vendors have invested a lot in developing. Whether it actually lives up to promise, we don't know. But I think we're going to hear the vendors talking a very loud story about agentic AI. It remains to be seen what's going to happen, but it means that we're going to have a lot more of these autonomous applications that are running independent of having human interaction, whether it's from an agent or from a worker from their desk. But it is very interesting and very promising. So that'll be an area to watch. Technology wise, I think we're going to hear more about small language models. LLMs have kind of become, routine at this point and are becoming almost commodified, that almost in a sense, almost everyone is using the same big models out there, which is fine, but that doesn't give you any competitive advantage. So I think we're going to see companies glom on to this idea that with small models, you can develop more proprietary type of sets of language in your own environment, whether it's for your business, your culture of the organization, or the vertical that you're in. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there for that. And then on the ROI front too, just a quick comment that I'm seeing is that because everyone's going headfirst with AI right now, the cost accountability is not really there yet. And I think it's going to hit a wall in some ways this year where the spend level is just getting to a point where, the financial folks are going to want to know more about how long is this going to continue without us seeing any real benefits. So I think the vendors, have a job to do. And I hope we'll see more of that next year with them trying to give buyers the tools to get a proper handle on what this is really costing and what those benefits are adding up for. So I'll leave it at that. I know there's more on these topics, but onward we go.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I like your emphasis on the small language models, because for people that kind of don't know, there's a lot of, latency benefits. They can be faster, they can run local. There's some significant cost benefits. And as you say, John, if they're tuned to a specific domain, they can deliver, better and unique results as compared to these large language models. So there's a lot of research in that area as well. I like that you called that out for 2025. So let's go over to Evan. I know in our pre-discussion, you were going to touch on a bunch of unique topics. So 2025, how do you see it unfolding with all the drones and in the background there?
Yeah, that's just a picture of the New Jersey Turnpike. But yeah, in terms of what I'm really interested in lately, wireless tech is going to have a huge year for enterprise in 2025. We're seeing the intersection of space-based broadband with terrestrial broadband and people teaming up like T-Mobile and SpaceX to deliver services right to the handset. So anywhere coverage, anytime. Direct satellite to smartphone connectivity. It's almost kind of space science fiction, but it's coming into reality. And there's so many use cases for space-based IoT, whether it's agriculture or farming, global coverage, supply chain, shipping. It's really going to be a huge boost for a lot of carriers who are partnering with or investing in their own wireless tech for space. Closer down to earth, 5G has been a long time coming. It's over promised, under delivered for many, but in the enterprise, private 5G now is pretty real. That's sort of 5G in a box or 5G on demand, and there are a lot of enterprises whose needs aren't met by Wi-Fi, and whether it's like a large hospital or a campus setting or an event venue, all of those areas are getting private 5G coverage increasingly, and it's going to be, a big year for that rollout. And a lot of the, benefits of QoS, what they call network slicing for video applications, dedicated QoS is going to be a big deal, not just for enterprises, but first responders and others in the state, local sort of government space. So, that's super interesting. And Wi-Fi 7 is now being rolled out. So, ultra multi-gigabit low latency speeds, all kinds of new bells and whistles. Probably not on your devices yet, which are Wi-Fi 6, but in the Wi-Fi world, that's the next big thing. Of course, we'll have a Wi-Fi 8 coming up as well. So, yeah, wireless all the time.
Well, that's great, and it would be good, as you say. 5G has been long promised, so it's nice to hear your prediction that it's starting to make some more inroads in specific use cases, and that quality of service piece. I mean, people get focused on bandwidth. More bandwidth is better, but without quality of service, delivering reliable video or voice is very difficult to do.
Yeah, so in an enterprise or a user with some of the new plans being developed will be able to provision or buy QoS. So if you're out and about or live streaming or at an event or running an event, you can get dedicated uplink downlink for a particular amount of times. That's a big deal.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice for all of us analysts and consultants that go to events that actually had a wireless that works at the event when you travel?
Oh yeah, 3 megabit Wi-Fi is wonderful. We love that. So this is hopefully a big jump.
Oh, fantastic. I look forward to that in 2025. Now going over to David Maldow. David, how is 2025? Hopefully 2024 has treated you well, but as you look into 2025, what do you see?
Yeah, 2024 was fun. 2025 is going to be amazing. And of course, most of my thoughts are with AI, but I think we've covered AI. I wanted to have a non-AI prediction. And this prediction is so optimistic. I don't even think it qualifies as a prediction. It's more of a hope, a wish, a dream. And that's that we will solve the 2 video bars in the meeting room problem. I keep seeing on LinkedIn and in real life, people say, hey, we're so excited. We just equipped our new meeting room. Look at our, we have the table, we have the monitor, and look at the 2 video bars above the monitor. I'm like, why are there 2 video bars above the monitor? One's for Zoom and one's for Teams. I'm like, no, not in this universe, not in this timeline. Something's gone wrong. We need to go back into the past and fix this. Doesn't that feel wrong to have 2 video bars? And that's just the way it is. A Teams bar joins Teams meetings, and a Zoom bar joins Zoom meetings. And I think people outside of our industry are like, we don't need interoperability. If I'm on Zoom and Kevin's on Teams and I send Kevin a Zoom link, he clicks it and he's in the meeting. It doesn't work that way in meeting rooms. Meeting rooms, it's a problem. And it's a problem that Microsoft hasn't shown any interest in fixing, and Zoom hasn't shown any interest in fixing, so it's not going to get fixed. But this year, a company called Pexip, it's really good at security and interop and stuff, been doing a bunch of stuff with Microsoft. And not that I expect Pexip alone to solve all our interop problems, but if Microsoft is willing to work with Pexip, that means they're willing to open up the gates. They're open to the discussion. And we got to the point where using Pexip, a Teams room can now join a Zoom meeting. So we're halfway there. But then just yesterday, the day before, I saw an announcement, and I didn't read into it enough. I got to get into the details. But something's going on with Zoom and Pexip now. Now Pexip's talking to Zoom, or Zoom is starting to get more open to the idea. Okay. So both Zoom and Microsoft are saying, okay, we'll talk about it. We'll talk to Pexip. We'll open up some of our stuff. Maybe it'll happen this year. Too optimistic? What do you guys think?
Well, I think it's a good wish. It's a good hope. It's, as you said, the vendors haven't been fully open to it because they want to own the experience when you walk into the meeting room. So no, but I think that's great. But if anybody's listening, please don't go back in the timeline and mess with the past. I've seen all the movies. That never turns out well. So let's face it. Let's fix it going forward, as opposed to mucking with the timeline and the multiverse and all of that. So, and speaking of the timeline and the multiverse, let's bring in another Dave Michels, 2025.
Really fascinating conversation, and really reveals so much of our individual perspectives. Evan's the wireless guy. He's talking about wireless, and the video guy is talking about, getting rid of the second bar in video. The short guy is talking about small language models. So I think that's really interesting the way we're looking at this stuff. But I have a real trouble with predictions because our industry just moves so slowly, right? You look at the moon at night and you know it's moving, or it's moving, but you don't see it moving, and I feel like that's kind of the metaphor for our industry. It just moves so slowly that these annual predictions are really more about what's happening, now, and will continue to happen next year, and so. There's a few things that, and you guys have already been touching on them, but there's a few things that are really interesting to me. And from my perspective, and one of them is this casual name change from CCaaS to CX. And I don't think that is really played out yet. I don't think people really fully appreciate. I think a lot of people are using it kind of as synonyms. And I don't think they're synonyms. And I think what people are trying to convey is a much grander view of where this contact center technology is going into the lifetime of the customer, not just customer service, and what does that really represent? And we tend to answer that very quickly about the technology, but really what it represents in the bigger picture is a new vendor landscape, because there's so many different vendors involved in the customer lifetime relationship, and they're all becoming CX vendors. And so we looked at something like the Magic Quadrant for CCaaS. It's got, I think it was 12 vendors. That's nothing, right? And so we're going to see a complete reset as other vendors, Salesforce, CRM vendors, the hypervisors. There's only one hypervisor in that current CCaaS MVU, Amazon. And so we're going to see a significant change in the vendor landscape as we address this change from CC to CX. And also, there's a lot of confusion that's been going on for a couple of years now. We keep on talking about in the contact center space, reducing vendors, and we've talked about that primarily with workforce optimization and getting that from one vendor, whether it be two different vendors behind the scenes or one vendor behind the scenes, but bundling it. And that's been a big driver for a lot of organizations. But we don't know what to do about UCaaS. Is UCaaS going to come from the same vendor or not? And it seems to be this question mark, and there's some real strong opinions around this. But bottom line is, there's another conversation happening about the commoditization of UCaaS. And so if it's a commodity, then of course you're going to get it from whatever bundle you can get it in, because you don't really care. That's what commodity means. It's about ease of purchase as opposed to feature preferences. And so I think we're going to see a consolidation a little bit more around UCaaS. And then this the last point again, around the contact center. The points that I'm making here with these new vendors and UCaaS and whatnot is there's a lot of fairly big disruptive forces that are creeping into the space, and that's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We're looking at a complete change to the business case and the billing models. We're looking at a complete change of where the source of truth is. Is it the CRM? Is it the contact center itself? Is it other databases? And how this is all going to get commoditized or centralized? And then the moats and barriers to entry are changing. Everyone is talking about, it used to be the ACD was the moat. Nobody could do an ACD. Now the moat appears to be AI, but nobody owns their own AI, or the few vendors do. So it's like, what is the moat? What is the barrier to entry? What are we going to hang our hat on? And so just a lot of disruptive forces that are occurring, and not to mention, of course, all the AI changes. So I'll wrap it up. There's so much more to say, but I'll wrap it up there, because it's not the Dave show, is it? But maybe we should have a Dave show. We'll do that another time.
There you go. You got a couple Davids. There you go. Maybe in an alternate timeline, you could have the Dave show. But thank you for those thoughts, Dave. I'll kind of just bring this to a close. I mean, I figured I'm going to talk a little bit about the mindset I see for organizations going forward into 2025. And I think we're starting to see it, to your point, Dave. So this is kind of an extension. I think we're going to end up in 2025 with what I'm going to call the AI whiners and the AI shiners. And we're already seeing this. We've got the AI whiners. These are the people that threw money at AI projects. They were ill-conceived. They didn't have any idea what the outcome was intended to be. it was more of FOMO. They just, felt that everybody else was doing it. And now they're figuring out that they're whining about that they didn't get results, or they're not sure what the results are. But the other thing I'm seeing is that these AI shiners, these are people that did the experimentation in 2024. It may have went great. It may have parts have gone great, part have gone bad, but they learned things, and they're entering 2025. They're probably going to rationalize their licenses, especially if whether they're using Google or Microsoft, where they're paying additional, licensing. They're going to figure it out, and they're going to deploy, and they're going to shine, because AI can be, especially generative AI. We've seen a lot of examples, enough examples to know that where it is properly aligned, and Blair, to your point, where there's the training and the change management, and you're giving it to the right users, it can make a substantial difference, not for everybody, but for, a group of people in your organization. And David Maldow and I, we do the AI Chef Show, where we talk about different tips and tricks. And every, couple weeks, we come up with some real examples where, if this is your job, it could really make a big difference. So I think we're going to see this dichotomy. You're going to have a lot more whining in 2025, but you're going to have a lot more organizations shining. And I think that's going to drive the vendors, and a bunch of other experts have said this, to really focus on the tools and proving out this ROI. Because the vendors, it was so easy, if you had a software product, just to code in some Gen AI where it made sense or where it didn't. And I think the most egregious example of this was probably Microsoft. I feel they told every product manager, build a Copilot in. They're confusing the market. And some of these Copilots made sense. Some of them didn't make sense. All of them were confusing and came with license premiums that may not have paid off. But I think the vendors as well are going to have to start to rationalize. And we're seeing, I'd say Zoom and WebEx in the UCaaS space are being more thoughtful in terms of, their features, and they're a little more accessible. And I think we're going to see more of that. To touch briefly on the contact center space, I think vendors, they spent a lot of talk saying we're not talking about reducing agents. I think that's, bullshit, because I think that we're going to see substantial reductions in agents as these AI demos that we saw in 2024. And so I think somebody said it's not about, the agents are scared and this needs to be AI. What's in it for them? Well, what might be in it for you is a pink slip, because, into the balance of 2025, I think some of these agents in certain scenarios, these virtual agents, get good enough that we will see labor reductions. So, whether you're an AI whiner or an AI shiner, I think, into 2025, there's enough examples that we know AI can improve creativity for certain people. It can make you more effective and extend your capabilities. And I think we're going to see a lot more examples of that into 2025. So thank you, experts. I wish you a great 2025. Thanks for participating in these podcasts through 2024. And happy holidays to you and to all of the audience.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Best for the season all. Bye.